All right, we're finishing up this old non-reverb Princeton, and you can see I've added some bear trap retainers, so the tubes don't have the loose wiggles. That's really a problem in a lot of combos. And on the deluxe reverb and the Princeton and the Champ, Fender, maybe on some of the deluxes, I think it depends on the year, but on the Princeton and the Champ, they did not put the bear trap retainers in that they did on the Super and the Pro and the Twin and all that. It was considered a higher end option. They're about $1.50 each. These Beltons are actually a much higher quality than the original ones, which were kind of a flimsy spring steel. Anyway, this is a nice amp by today's metrics, even if it was a student model in Leo's eyes at the time. So this is a nice little change. Doesn't affect anything and can be removed. It's non-permanent, but why would you want to? The negative feedback switch that the previous tech had installed was kind of a crappy switch, and it had a bushing that was smaller than a 1/4 inch, but the tech had used a 1/4 inch drill bit to make the hole, but he did not use a step bit. I'm going to say he, because a female tech would have been too smart to do this. Didn't use a step bit, so the hole was really jagged and was just approximately a 1/4 inch. So I took my step bit and smoothed out the hole to an actual 1/4 inch. And then I was able to use this much higher quality short bat switch. And he had the tooth washer and 2 nuts on the outside. I've got the proper orientation with a washer on the inside, and then the tooth wash, a nut on the inside, then a tooth washer, then a dress washer on the outside, then this nut on the outside. So it's almost flush mounted, and much higher quality switch, much better installation. And that jagged hole is gone because those things drive me nuts. I had to do something a bit unusual on this one as far as the power wiring, because these leads have been cut short already. The primaries have been cut short by the previous tech. So what's happening here is the white wire is the neutral. It is going to this lug here, and the other one of the primaries is joining it there. So that's the neutral. The hot is this black wire, and it is going all the way over here to this innermost connector on this fuse holder. And from the fuse holder to the power switch, and from the power switch back to over here. So this courtesy outlet is only on when the amp is switched on, and that's where the other primary is. Normally, that's not how I would do this. I would have this primary connected over here at the switch, but it just wasn't long enough. And because this black positive hot had to be so long, I shouldn't say positive, I'm talking about AC. Sorry, I misspeak sometimes. A guy criticized me in a video this morning for saying voltage when maybe I should have said current. It almost gets into semantics at some point, but there are places where it matters. Anyway, because the black AC hot was so long, I had to leave some extra length in the green safety wire, which is now going to chassis. And the bias is also going to chassis now. And the bias adjustment pot is going to chassis ground now, but in a different way, because they mounted this in the existing ground switch hole, which is too large for the 3/8 inch bushing. It's a 1/2 inch hole. So it has the Switchcraft insulating washer, which isolates the shell of this from the chassis. I still have the current limiting resistor going here it's also a voltage limiting resistor going to the shell of the pot. But then I have this wire going from the shell of the pot to the cathode of this tube, which is at chassis ground. So this undoes the isolation in a way that we want. We want the shell of this to be grounded. And I replaced the plastic wire that previous tech had used going to and from this pot with white. Not white, obviously. Sorry, some videos are done very early in the morning with yellow cloth-covered wire, just like what's in the rest of the amp. And over time, it'll age a bit and match better. There's that new switch for the negative feedback with the replaced bit of wire there. And you can see it's not flush against the chassis. You really want to have any stress in that kind of case against at least a washer on the other side, because it can put a lot of stress on the plastic frame shell of these switches. This is as tight as it needs to be. It will never come loose because it has that tooth washer, but it won't stress the plastic here. You can see I changed out all the stuff on the bias card. And I have the HT center tap going to the chassis rather than mounting hardware. I've got to find my stash of 8x32 caps nuts for this one. The other 3 bolts have it, so they'll all match very soon. And the filament center tap has been taped off like this, and I'm about to install some heater balance resistors in there as well. So tuck this away, install those resistors, and put that nut on, then I'll let you hear it. A very unglamorous part of this repair was getting all the Tolex glued back on. All these were big honking flaps that came out to here on both sides, including a little flap here that made it hard to get the chassis in and out, and on the bottom. And the next issue, and the last issue, is that of the original panel screws, there are only 4. They all have little bends to them, and the heads are pretty stripped out. So I'm going to put 2 in each panel for right now, and order some replacements. They're not expensive. I'm sure I've got a bag of them somewhere here, but I cannot find them at the moment. So I guess I'll just order a whole bunch, and then I'll know where my stash is, and that way about 5 minutes after I place confirm order on the new ones, I'll probably find the old ones. That's how it tends to work around here. Anyway, you can see this one is barely turning and it's kind of twisting, or maybe you can't. I don't know if it's really visible on the camera right now, but anyway, I'm gonna get these in here so the panels are in place. Just 2 per panel for now. And take a note of something, because I see people do this all the time on Princeton's. This opening goes up here. Some people will put it so the flat surface is here and then you have the angles down here. This is how it's supposed to be, just like this. So here into the lesson, let me put this together and hook up a mic and let you hear it. Well, I'm hearing some background staticky stuff that may be the preamp tubes. Doesn't have very fantastic tubes in it right now. And it may just be the fact that I've got a Wi-Fi router. I'll examine that, but you can hear the amp behind all that. So I'm in input 1. I've got the volume just below 6. I've got the treble about almost to 7, just over 6.5. I've got the bass about 5 and 4.5. We'll get to the tremolo. I've got the bass turned down because I've got the 335. I turned the treble down a little bit because everyone has different tastes. All right, I took the treble down to 5 and hit the camera in the process. Let me turn the tremolo on. Yeah, definitely got a tube thing. I'll check it after this. Wasn't doing it on the bench, but such is life. It won't do that crackly thing before it goes home, when it goes home. Anyway, let me turn the tremolo off and show you how this thing takes some pedals. So I just turned the intensity off. I don't have a foot switch hooked up to this. Tremolo works, sounds great. I turned the treble back up to 6, kind of a middle ground between where we started and where we were just a minute ago. Pretty good, basic, clean sound. Let's give it a little bit of reverb. Maybe some delay. No, it's all to taste. Turn the delay off and try some overdrive. Interesting, not all those overdrives sounded good with those amp settings, but I'm not gonna spend the time to dial in some different overdrive sounds right now because it's about the amp, not the pedals. But I know that if I can get this, then I can tweak an overdrive pedal and make this thing really sing. So aside from that little bit of static that's in the background, which probably is one of the two preamp tubes, that's probably it. So I'll roll some tubes, let the owner know, and I'll get those screws on order, some tubes, and life will be good. Thanks for watching.